Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock, Alison McConnell is here and Partick Thistle captain Cara Henderson joins us on the couch today as well. Before we get into all the games, let's have a look at the results from the weekend. On Friday was a 2-0 win for Hibs over Hearts in the Edinburgh Derby. Celtic 3-0 over Partick Thistle on Sunday. Dundee United lost 2-1 against Montrose. Spartans 1, Hamilton 0. Aberdeen 2, Motherwell 3 and Glasgow City 0. Rangers 1. Cara, a defeat in the end, but talk us through your game.
It was tough. Obviously it was roasting yesterday, so playing on a big pitch against Celtic was always going to be tough, but I actually thought we held ourselves well yesterday. They obviously got the goal relatively early, but at 0-0 and 1-0 we had chances. I certainly had a few, probably should have taken them, and that would have probably been interesting at that point. Obviously they're chasing the league at the moment, so it would have been interesting to see, but they were pretty ruthless, they were pretty dominant. But I think, again, we held ourselves well, we defended well, and I think it was probably one of our better performances against them this season.
I heard Brian saying after it that he feels as though you've performed better against top six this season than you did last term, as though you've come on a wee bit. Have you felt that?
I absolutely think that. I think that I think, again, it's been a good learning curve. There's obviously things that you can maybe get away with against the bottom six, but you just can't when you're playing the top teams. But I would agree with them. I think obviously we've got more points this year in the top six. We've really pushed Hibs and Hearts at points as well. And I think, you know, we obviously got our point against Rangers earlier on the season. We probably should have held on against them a wee bit earlier. So I would agree with them. I think it's been a good top six, and there's still, you know, 2 more games that we can try and push Glasgow City and Rangers as well.
And of course you could have a big say on where the title goes.
Yeah, and I think that's where we want to be. We want to be playing in games that have an effect on the title. You know, especially the last game. You know, Rangers will need to win as long as they obviously win midweek, but they'll need to beat us if they want to make sure they win the title. And that's exciting. It was the same with Celtic yesterday. So we're playing in games that matter, and obviously for us as well, like we've been really pushing Hibs all year in terms of trying to squeeze that 5th or 4th spot. So still plenty to play for, and yeah, who knows, we could maybe have a wee say as well.
Could you feel any sort of tension or nerves yesterday coming from Celtic?
I thought maybe at 1-0 we had a good chance at 0-0, and again, if you go 1-0 up against them, you never know, they could have kicked into 5th gear and it could have probably made different. But I think the way they play is they're pretty dominant, and I think that what we should probably work on next year is keeping the ball better. Brian said that yesterday, and I think we all agree that, you know, especially when it's such a hot day, it would have been good if they had done some of the running yesterday rather than
slow the pace down a wee bit.
Exactly. So I thought they seemed pretty dominant. They've played sort of City and Rangers now as well, so they've got us and the 2 Edinburgh sides. So I thought they seemed pretty confident in themselves as well, and they probably are on the driving seat for it. So
to us as observers, or certainly from my own perspective, I think there's very little between the 2 teams. I felt throughout the course of the season that Rangers probably had the better depth and the better squad. But who for you do you think is the better out of the 2 of them?
I think probably our styles of play probably have meant Celtic have felt the harder match. You know, they took 6 off us, I think, early at some point, and that's been tough. I think Rangers, though, they play more sort of, I've thought their passages of play have been more like they properly go through the thirds, and they can be quite difficult, but we've challenged them more and sort of stumped them more. Obviously we got the point, and if they hadn't, they scored in the 85th and the 90th minute, I think, to win 3-1. So I'd say Celtic have seemed the harder, but I don't think you could count Rangers out as well for something to happen. I mean, I really believe there's not an easy game in the top 6, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
You say obviously you've performed better against the teams in the top 6. What's the message been from Brian Graham and the staff going into these next handful of games?
I think it's just that there's no pressure on us, and to really enjoy and express ourselves, which I think comes with sort of, you know, being confident on the ball, being brave on the ball, and being confident that we've had a really good season. We've really pushed on from last year. It's been quite easy, I think. You know, we got top 6 last year. It's been quite easy for us to say, you know, we'll get top 6 again and that'll be fine. But, you know, we did top 6 really comfortably. We got into a cup final. So I think to be confident against these teams and start pushing them, and I think really, you know, the message of you could affect who wins the title is a pretty exciting message. So yeah, just sort of being confident and seeing what we can do.
And it's such a big motivator as well that you could have a vital role to play to the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we all have different ties to sort of Celtic and Rangers, a lot of friends there, but I think if we can have some sort of say, it sort of puts, you know, how impressive a team Partick Thistle are, and how, you know, I don't think anybody likes playing us particularly, but that would sort of emphasise that we are a tough team, and by playing us, you know, you're not going to get an easy ride. Is sort of what we're going for. In
terms of next season, like, what would it mean if Partick Thistle, if the men's team were to get through these playoffs and somehow find themselves competing back in the Premiership and back at the top flight? Would that have a trickle-down effect, do you think, into the women's team in terms maybe of resources and just a wee bit more money being filtered towards your end?
I hope so. I'm honestly not sure. I know that, you know, Brian and Ross are constantly banging the drum. We've got a lot of great people that are on the board that are trying to get that sort of thing sorted. I think obviously we've not got as much of a budget with the top 6 teams, which makes it difficult, especially, you know, the midweek games. We've got, you know, a midweek game this week, and a lot of our girls are working before that, and that's really difficult. I mean, it's good that we're not travelling through to Edinburgh like we did last year, but that's really difficult trying to balance that. But I think obviously more resources would be good, and I think it would, you know, sort of feed well into sort of women's football in general, that if we can sort of bridge that gap between how much money the top 5 sides have compared to the rest of us, that would be important.
I was going to say, because you're the only team in that top 6 that doesn't offer full-time contracts anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that I think that's what I mean, that we've held ourselves really well, and that's why being so close to Hearts and Hibs that we have been this year has been really impressive. But it would be good, you know, to take that next step and see where we could go as a club, because it is a great club, and I think if the money was there, they would absolutely want to do that, because they you know, the men's and the women's side feels so sort of intertwined, you know. Obviously we're all at the game on Friday, we want to go tomorrow night as well, so I know it would be good, but I don't know how the money works.
Brian's a great gap, a great bridge for that, you know. Obviously your focal point there, like play the Championship, Player of the Year, scoring goals, and then coming in to lead the team and lead by example, I suppose, in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, he is exceptional in terms of the level he's playing at with his team, and obviously all the time he puts in with us, and being there on Friday night, it was obviously great to see him do so well and score his goals. And I stupidly challenged him at the start of the season to see who would score more goals, and I'm now well behind. Whereas I owe my packet of sweeties, I think it is.
I'm curious, who's been your toughest opponent this season in the league?
I think obviously the top 3 teams are hard, but I would like us to have probably challenged Hearts more this year. I think that at times they've felt quite ruthless against us, in terms of just, you know, getting goals quite early in games as well. I think I would have liked us to probably have taken points off them this year, and probably pushed them a wee bit closer than we did. We came close last weekend, but we just ran out of time, I think. And I think I thought they were hard. Just the way they play football, they feel like they kind of outnumber you at points with how they do it. So I'd probably say Hearts, just in terms of the fact that they're probably closer to us than the top 3 teams, and we've not really managed to push them as much as I'd like.
Is there anybody personally that's gave you a bit of a battle throughout the season?
There's a lot, to be fair. I just the sort of the best players, you know, playing against at the weekend. Obviously, playing against the back 3 of Kelly Clark, Chloe Craig, and Caitlin Hayes. That's a tough game, and I felt Natalie Ross all over that. I think Natalie Ross is somebody that I find, you know, she's so effective in what she does. Like, even yesterday, a couple of times, she's breaking up the game, slowing it down, making sure if we were going to get an attack, we certainly didn't. So I actually would say that I think Natalie Ross is really tough to play. And she's so game smart as well, that it's really tough playing against her as well.
Who got your vote for Player of the Year?
Player of the Year, I think my vote went towards Rachel Rowe. And a young player, I think I gave Mia McConnell as well.
Mia's been exceptional.
And Rachel Rowe was really, I can't believe I forgot about her. She is really tricky as well, especially in the cup final. She was
really creative.
Really creative and hard to sort of track while she's running everywhere, it feels like.
Obviously being the captain, Cara, how much do you enjoy that responsibility of being out there on the pitch with the challenges that come with that as well?
Well, Demi's the club captain, but when I got to be captain this year, it was a huge honour, and I was quite unexpected, to be honest, but it's something that I'm glad that I've got to do, and hopefully as I go forward, I'd get that opportunity again. Playing obviously under Demi's, she's such a great captain too, so I learnt a lot, and so being able to get the armband, I just sort of tried to channel what. And Brian's obviously the captain of the men's team as well, so sort of trying to do. But it was an honour being the captain, and it was an unfortunate result against Glasgow City the day, but I enjoyed it, and it was an honour being able to sort of lead my teammates out that day.
Any sort of advice that both of them gave you or Vice versa, you and Demi?
Demi actually came over and gave me the armband, which was really nice in the changing room. Brian was obviously in the stands that day, so I could still hear him, but like, it was, as I said, I was really grateful for him to give me the opportunity, because I've loved my time at Thistle since I've been there. It's such a special club. So it was, they were both really, really good about it, and it felt really nice being able to get the armband.
Absolutely. Well, Alison, you were also at the Rangers game against Glasgow City. A narrow win, but 3 points nonetheless. They're still very much in it.
Absolutely. I think it's an intriguing finale. I don't think it's done just yet. I think Wednesday night will be massive. Both teams in Edinburgh. Rangers are away to Hibs, Celtic are away to Hearts. I think Oriam is a very tough venue to go. It's small, it's tight. I think Hearts are really difficult opponents, and of course Hearts have a cup final to look forward to too. So they've got players fighting for places, wanting to start. They've still got the bit between their teeth, and also coming off the back of a defeat to Hibs in the derby. They'll be fresh because that game was on Friday night. They've got a good wee bit of time to rest and prepare, and I think they would enjoy having something to say, having a say in the title race. I think it's a huge night on Wednesday night, and I thought Joe Potter made a very good point yesterday after the game, because you see now that the goal difference has gone to 15 in Celtic's favour after the results at the weekend. But I think if you get caught up in thinking about that or being distracted by it, you could very easily stumble and drop points. But I think this one will go right to the last day. I think it will go to Sunday. I think there's very little between the teams, I have to say. I think I felt over the course of the season that Rangers have probably been the better team at points. I think Celtic came to the boil quite late this season. I think when Elena Suduka first came in, I think you saw it just seemed to stutter for a little bit, but they've picked up the pace, and a huge result for Celtic last Monday at Broadwood. They've certainly got it within their grasp now to go and win their first title, but I think this week will be huge, obviously.
And it just adds that element of excitement as well, with teams like you say, Hearts, Thistle, could create little twists and turns along the way. I
don't think there's any doubt about it. Thistle have already taken points off of Rangers. Hearts have taken points off both. They beat Rangers, which is why Celtic suddenly found themselves in the driving seat and at the top of the table. Celtic drew there just around Christmas time, just before Fran Alonso had left or was about to leave, as rumours were circulating about his departure. In fact, I think that might have been his final game. So I don't think anyone will view either of those games lightly from Rangers or Celtic. And of course, you're looking over your shoulder. Everyone tells us they're not concerned with the other team. They're not looking at other team results. I think everyone knows that there's someone somewhere keeping an eye on what's happening at the other ground. And the minute you have that coming through and you know that there's something else going through, I think it's huge.
Absolutely. Well, let's just hear what the Rangers boss, Joe Potter, had to say about her victory yesterday.
Yeah, it felt huge. We knew it was going to be tough to come here. It's never an easy place to come. And we know that City are a difficult opponent. They're set up very well. They've got a good structure. They make it difficult for you. So it was a big 3 points for us today. That was the main focus, of being able to get the win and kick the week off on a good start.
When you look at City as well, Cara, they're obviously not going to get the Champions League. They can't win the league, but they're not a team that will bow out of this league just yet.
No, they're really tough. I felt like they've really kicked against us this year as well. They've put in good performances that have meant that we've not really managed to get too close to them. And I think obviously the injuries they've got at the moment is maybe not came at the best of times, but I certainly they've been so dominant over the last decade that you'd be so silly to count them out of anything. Yeah.
Although I actually thought that their performance yesterday was one of the best of the season, and I think they've been dreadfully unlucky with players that they've lost at key points to the season. It's quite clear that they were crying out for a natural striker yesterday, but I thought they really played well. I thought they deserved at least a point yesterday. I thought hit the crossbar, forced Vic Esson into a couple of really good saves, one save in particular. And at the start of the second half, fantastic stop, just a fingertip save to tip it over. But I thought City, you could sense that they were really playing for that Champions League, but really desperately just trying to hang on in and never quite got there. I think they'll be disappointed to have finished third, given how dominant they have been over the landscape of Scottish football for the last 15 years or so. I think finishing third, not getting one of those two European spots, not making it into either of the cup finals, you just wonder now if that's reflective of a new a new period of dominance coming to the fore with Celtic or Rangers, or whether or not they go regroup and come again next season.
Well, let's just hear what Leanne Ross had to say about her team losing out on points yesterday.
I've got absolutely no qualms about that I've got players in there that nobody's even thinking about anything other than the game that we have on Wednesday night now. They're a group of professionals. This is their job, so they know every time they take to the pitch that they want those 3 points, and that's what they'll give us on Wednesday and on Sunday.
Yeah, they're a group of professionals, as Leanne says there, Alison, and just too experienced to let these next 2 games run away.
I think they'll be sore. I think it's inevitable that they'll be sore, but I don't think Leanne Ross is the type of manager who will allow the bar to slip. I think she'll demand a level of professionalism between now and the end of the season, and I think it's almost about playing for a bit of pride. I think there's no question that they'll be smarting from the way that this season has played out.
Well, let's just see the games coming up on Wednesday nights. It is Montrose take on Spartans, Hearts will face Celtic, Hibs against Rangers, Aberdeen take on Dundee United, Motherwell face Hamilton, and Partick Thistle will face Glasgow City. Cara, what sort of animal are you expecting to face on Wednesday night?
It'll be another tough test for us, obviously coming off the back of Sunday. It's a quick turnaround, but these are the games you want to play in. Obviously we really want to try and get some sort of result on Sunday, Wednesday and Sunday. I think we can. I think we've got the players that we can sort of do damage to these teams, but it'll be really tough. We're under no illusions of how good of a side both City and Rangers are, but we back ourselves hopefully to go and put in a good performance to get a result.
Absolutely, and we were just saying earlier, obviously Thistle are the only team in the top 6 that don't offer that full-time status, but they're not Thistle aren't a team who use that as an excuse. You go out there fighting every single week.
Absolutely not. I think that's what's been good about the top 6 again, is that it's a learning curve, and we've shown that we can compete, so there isn't an excuse with a lot of these games. Especially when you get a point off of Rangers, there was no chat of the full time, part time at that point. It's that we can compete with them. So I think it's tough. It is tough when you've got 3 games in a week. That's when it probably does become a wee bit. You can tell, but
especially when you're dealing with people who have got to go and ask for time off work when they're juggling lots of other commitments and coming, not getting a chance to rest, not getting a chance to properly hydrate again, eating properly, all these things, like when you're full time, are just a natural cycle of recovery and preparation. Whereas when you're juggling a career too, very challenging to do that.
Exactly, and even just like today, a lot of the full-time teams were probably in doing rehab or recovery in some sort of capacity, but we're all working and doing uni or doing something. So that's the sort of, and especially this week we've got Celtic, Glasgow City and Rangers, so there's not really any let up there, is there? But I think we've really enjoyed our time in the top 6, and it would be a shame, just like obviously Leanne Ross was saying there, that they don't want to let up these next 2 games. We certainly don't want to either, because that wouldn't be reflective of our season at all.
And it's been a successful season for Thistle, making that cup final in top 6. How do you look to improve that next season?
I think that we've got to do what we did last year. It would be, as I said, it'd been so easy for last year for us just to be like, right, top 6. But we spoke at the start of the season, we looked at the fixtures, and they weren't going to be easy. But we said, we want to do better in cups. Last year we didn't. I think this year we probably could have made this sort of semi-finals and got to Hampden. I think that was well with home tie in the quarter-final. We probably could have. So there's still plenty to improve on, and I still think as well there's been games in the top 6 that have maybe not been a fair reflection of our performances, and it's like, how can we be more clinical? How can we keep the ball? How can we maybe defend better at points? So I think it's more just keeping on improving as players, individuals, and as a team. And I think we've got that spirit there, that if we keep doing that and we keep doing, then next year we'll be successful as well.
What about your own return? You've been quite pleased with it?
Yeah, I have. I'm glad that I sort of beat my goal tally from last year. That was definitely something that I probably should have more than what I've got. But I've developed well, I've learnt a lot, and again, I'm looking forward to keeping progressing as well.
Cara, thanks very much for coming on the show today. Very best of luck for the next 2 games coming in. On behalf of myself, Alison and Cara, we'll be back next week with some more action to look forward to. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching.